normal again. And he talked about it. He was lying on the couch and he's smoking a cigar. And he said, you know, a lot of people say they want to be Michael Jordan for a day. He said, but that wouldn't be right. He says, you need to be Michael Jordan for a year. And realize, Skip, we talk about this, Skip. Think about this, Skip, for just a second. What we've been going through since the middle of February, where we can't go dine, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go out and hang out. That's Michael Jordan for almost 40 years. He can't go to the movies with his kids. He's never been able to be normal with his kids. He was never able to be normal. We're complaining about, Skip, we've been shut down for about 2 months. Michael Jordan was shut down for almost 40 years. And it started to wear on him. But what really started to wear on him, Skip, is that as great as he was, he says, I've had no missteps. No one says I came out and assaulted anybody or I punched somebody in a bar or I cursed some kid out or I did something. I didn't do that. But what he found out, Skip, is that no matter how great you are, people will start to look for ways to try to tear you down. And that's what started to happen. Sam Smith he was an investigative reporter. I didn't know that at the time, Skip, until last night, that his background was investigative reporting. And so, Skip, when you're an investigative reporter, you start looking for things. That's normal things that people that's writing a story, Skip, you write a story, Skip, you not try to look, okay, where did he come from? What was his parents? Did anybody do anything shady? Was he ever arrested? Did he hang with a gang? That's not what you do. You write the story, trying to tell a story, but that's not what they did. They started trying to look for things. Michael Jordan was like, man, but I tell you what, Skip Bayless, not to change subjects too far, now you should have a greater appreciation for one LeBron James. Michael Jordan grew up in an era where there was no social media. There was really no 24-hour talk shows. There was no debate shows. Everybody did not have an opinion on Michael Jordan. This is what GOAT James has had to deal with. He grew up in a social media era with a constant grind. Because, Skip, you saw what happened going back to that three-peat, trying to get that the pressures and how it started to wear on him. Whoo! And he's like, man, look here. And David Aldridge was telling the story last night. He said, man, if y'all don't be careful, say Magic told him, y'all gonna run him out of the game. And that's exactly what I believe happened, Skip. But also what wasn't in that, Skip, did you know when they was down 0-2, they were playing the Knicks in game 3. Did you know, Skip, Michael Jordan went 3 for 18 from the floor and they still won that game? Now let go, James had done that. Now somebody saved Michael Jordan's legacy. Now I don't know who it was, but somebody saved that man's legacy. Skip, I liked last night. Last night was my favorite episode because Michael Jordan was very, very open. He was the most open and honest I've been. I was glad, Skip, he didn't run from the comment that Republicans buy sneakers. Skip, I also believe that he said it in jest. We say a lot of things, Skip, that we might be joking around, but if somebody else heard it and all they heard was you say that, they automatically assumed it, man, did you hear what he said? And it got back. It was, but Skip, like he said, I didn't get in this to be activism. And that was not his calling. Skip, I like that Michael said, I was just wanted to be a basketball player. But Skip, the most touching, last night when he said, Skip, if he had a chance to do it over again, I'm not so sure I would want to do this. I don't know if I would want to be a role model because I'm already set up for failure. Skip, that broke my heart. This is the most popular man maybe ever. Maybe only Ali and Tiger can rival him. And he says, I don't know, man. He says, I don't know. Wow. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Skip, here he is, Michael Jordan at the apex, the crescendo. And he says, I don't know, man. He says, because is it worth it?
Are you finished?
I'm finished, Skip.
Okay, all right. Let's get back to Jenny's initial question about how much did gambling have to do with the almost 2 years that he suddenly, shockingly took off in the heart of his prime at ages 30 and 31. Again, I worked in Chicago in 1998. I was there for The Last Dance as the lead columnist of the Chicago Tribune. I saw it from the inside out. I heard all the stories. Sam Smith was a teammate of mine for those years I was in Chicago. And what I continued to hear from people on the inside and this is in 1998. And by the way, the interview you talked about where he's sitting on his couch with his cigar, that's in a hotel room in 1998. 98. We're talking about 93. After the first three-peat, he suddenly walked away from basketball. How much did gambling have to do with that? I say everything. You could argue that he was getting burned out, as he indicated there in the documentary at that point.
Right.
You can argue that he got burned out from all the negative publicity that ensued after all of his gambling was revealed. But that wasn't from Sam Smith. That wasn't about the Jordan rules. That was just about going to Atlantic City after the first two losses to the Knicks and taking a public beating for that. And as Michael said, he got asked by the league office about that. And his answer was, well, it's legal to go to a casino. I like to play blackjack. And then the book came out, that Richard Esquinas book, you know, Michael and Me, and he alleged in the book, Esquinas did, he's like a professional sort of hustler gambler, that Michael had lost $1.25 million to him on the golf course. This was in 1993, when that was a whole lot of money. And that was a bad look for the league, and it led to questions about, gee, if Michael is gambling so heavily off the course, then what about the people he's associating with, which led to his association with this Slim Bowler, another criminal, convicted criminal, that he was playing golf with regularly, and it was not reported whether he'd lost or won money. It was just the association with Slim Bowler. Not a good look for the league. And again, David Stern, very unhappy with that image, right? So all this was the fallout. Yeah.
He did lose, remember, because there was a $57,000 check when the feds went looking at Slim Bowler.
He did.
He said it was a loan.
Yeah, and he said
and then they finally called him to court. Right, and then he finally came to court, and he actually had to say what it was for. It was a gambling debt I had lost, and I had to pay it off.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it looked a little shady that you're losing money to professional gamblers, which could indicate you could get yourself in a bind when they came back to you and said, hey, if you'd shave a few points tonight, I'll relieve your debt. I'll forgive your debt, right? You don't have to pay me back. If you'll just make sure, bring in the game under 10 points tonight, which is the point spread, then we're good. You know, we're even if you can do that for me. And that was the speculation of the time. Gee, would Michael be, you know, could he possibly fall prey to that? Could he be susceptible to that kind of thinking? And nothing was ever proven. Nothing was ever even alleged about that. But that was the league's fear at that point. Right. And Michael got sick and tired of having to answer questions about it. So even going into those finals, remember, he did that sit-down that he requested with Ahmad Rashad, who was probably his best friend in the world. Ahmad Rashad obviously played your game, played pro football for a while, and Michael really loved him and sort of honored him, yes. He was Bobby Moore for a while, then he was Ahmad Rashad, if you remember. So, right. So the point was that he did a sit-down with Ahmad before the finals started against Barkley's Phoenix Suns, and he wanted to answer all the gambling questions one more time. And Ahmad said in the documentary, well, he did wear sunglasses, which Ahmad didn't love because it looked like he was trying to hide his eyes behind the sunglasses. So the point was, what I always heard in my year in Chicago around the 98 Bulls was that it had a lot to do with gambling, that even the appearance of it got so bad that David Stern, who has denied this repeatedly, even in the documentary, David Stern said it never reached epic crisis levels, his gambling. I just think it was so bad image